Right, here we are again, ladies and gentlemen, using the Typhur Dome. Tonight I'm going to try and go a really expensive route and try and cook the best steak that I could get hold of today. Today's a Sunday. I normally use Robinson's Butchers in Wingate, but today I went for lunch and I thought I'll give the Green Lane butcher a good try. Looks like a fantastic butcher. I've got to say, I spoke to Brian and Phil while I was in there. They were absolutely excellent. So this was the steak that they recommended. So I'm just going to open the steak now and show them, and then I'll get underway. I've also added, I didn't realise my wife had bought me this. I found this last night. This is the Typhur Sync 1 probe, which is a meat probe that you can put into the actual meat, and it'll monitor it and it'll send an alarm when it's up to temperature. So I'm going to try and learn how to use that tonight as well. So just going to open this meat and then we'll start to cook. So there we have the steaks unwrapped. As I say, it came from the from Green Lane, and it's dry aged sirloin. If you look at the thickness of the steak, I think you're looking at about 2.5–3 inches each steak. So I've looked at a few recipes for air fryers. As I say, I wouldn't normally cook such good steak in an air fry, but my outdoor barbecue, don't fancy it tonight with all the snow on the rim. So I thought, do you know what, give it a go. I've heard that the Typhur 2 is fully capable of doing this, and what makes it capable, as I keep mentioning it, it's the double element, the bottom and the top element. So this thing, I believe, is meant to guarantee that you absolutely get it to the correct temperature. What I'm going to do is I've got my fan oven on 80 degrees. I've done a bit of research to find out how to keep the steak well rested and warm. I'm going to put some plates in there to keep them warm as well, because also what I'm going to try on the Typhur Dome this evening as well is my favourite frozen chunky chips come from Aldi. They're the finest range or select range, and I'm going to give them a go. So while the steaks are resting, I believe the air fryer will do a really good job. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pat this steak down dry, add the seasoning which I always use, which is the Santa Maria roasted garlic and pepper. This comes from Tesco's, and I always buy lots of it whenever they've got an offer on. So I'm going to pat it dry, rub this on both sides of the steaks, and let's see how we get on. I'm also going to utilise the probe which I've linked through the app to my phone, so hopefully we'll get some alarms, and then I'll try and do a separate video once I've perfected how to use the probe and how to use the app. I'll try and run a separate video on that. So looking forward to trying this, and fingers crossed it does a good job. This wasn't the cheapest steak in the world, but that's what happens with when you want really, really good quality meat and as thick and as big as what I've got here. See you in a bit. So that's the steaks nicely dried. Just patted them down with some normal kitchen roll. I've put the Typhur Sync 1, switched it on. This is the probe, which is just basically inserted in the top in that slot there. Pulled the probe, and as you can see, it's measuring the ambient air temperature, which is 24 degrees. So what I'm going to do on my app is I'm going to tell it that I'm cooking sirloin steak. I'm going to select medium rare, and that will pick up the probe. But what it has told me to do is it's told me to insert the probe into the meat. There is a line which is very difficult to see on camera, but there is a line, and you've got to make sure that line is taken care of, which that's the meat probe in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to preheat the air fryer. So clean my hands first and then I'll switch on the air fryer.